Vodka Guy.
Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're taking you to the world of Indonesian cinema with a film called My Annoying Brother. And get this, we're not even watching a trailer. We're using the film's website to, uncover those hidden layers and stuff.
Yeah. It's kind of like piecing together a puzzle, right? Starting with just a few, intriguing pieces.
Exactly. And you know what really stood out to me? The keyword Paralympics. It's right there on the site, and man, it got me thinking about athletes like Daniel Dias, the Brazilian swimmer. He's won more Paralympic gold medals than anyone in history.
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah. I mean, his story, it really shows you how the Paralympics goes beyond sports, becomes a testament to human potential and, that whole idea of pushing boundaries.
For sure. And to see that connected to a film like My Annoying Brother, which, also deals with overcoming obstacles. Let's just say I'm hooked.
It's interesting, right? How one word can tell you so much. Oh, and speaking of interesting, the website lists the genres as comedy and drama. Now, that's a combo I always love. Gets you thinking, laughter, tears, the whole emotional roller coaster, right?
Right. And that blend often means we're getting a film that's not afraid to tackle the tough stuff. Think about it, using humor to explore, resilience, family dynamics, even how society sees disability, that can be really powerful.
It's true. That sugar that helps the medicine go down, you know what I mean?
Right.
Makes those important messages about empathy and understanding hit even harder.
Exactly. Now, the synopsis tells us the film follows Kemal Nating. He's a judo athlete who loses his vision and is training for the Paralympics. His relationship with his brother, Jaya, that's a central part of the story.
And speaking of the brothers, their names just jumped out at me. Kemal and Jaya Solihin, sharing a last name. That kind of hints at a deeper family dynamic, don't you think?
Yeah.
More than just a, buddy comedy,
And the website actually uses the phrase full of intrigue to describe their relationship. Plus, they mentioned the brothers initially not being close. Sounds like we're in for some serious character development.
Makes you wonder, how will Kemal's journey, especially with the Paralympics as a backdrop, how will that impact their bond? Will they find common ground?
Oh, it's a classic setup for growth, for
Yeah.
sure. I'm really curious to see how the filmmakers handle that. Oh, but there's another layer here. The film is Indonesian, opens up a whole new conversation about, representation in cinema.
And that's what I love about these deep dives. We always end up in these fascinating discussions. So often we only get stories from a handful of perspectives.
Exactly. And the exciting thing about My Annoying Brother is that, well, it has the potential to change that, right? Give us a peek into a different part of the world, a different way of life, and maybe even a different take on those universal themes. Family, resilience, chasing those dreams.
It's like we get a backstage pass or something, to a story we might never have heard otherwise. Oh, and speaking of stories, did you notice? My Annoying Brother, it's a remake.
Yeah, I saw that. Adds another whole layer, doesn't it? Makes you think, how are they going to, reinterpret it? Especially for different audience, different culture, all that.
Like taking an old family recipe and spicing it up, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of unique, there's this key word that caught my eye, judo. Not just sports, but judo specifically.
Oh, good catch, judo. It's more than just fighting, It's balance, it's strategy, it's using your opponent's strength.
Whoa, now that you mention it, those themes, they're directly connected to Kemal. As a visually impaired athlete, adapting, overcoming, judo is almost like a metaphor for his whole life now.
Totally.
Yeah.
And now I'm wondering, will the film make that obvious? Or will it be subtle? Will we see judo philosophy and how Kemal deals with things with his brother,
Those little things, those layers, that's what makes a movie stick with you. Okay, but we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Or, well, the key word, I guess, blind.
Right. It's upfront about the challenges, but it's also a chance for the filmmakers, to really show it authentically.
Yeah.
Will they go there or will they kind of shy away?
It's a tough one, for sure. But when it's done well, man, it makes you think differently about, what it means to live with a disability, the whole experience. Oh, and while we're talking about representation, the content score, it's 100.
Now, that's interesting. We don't know exactly what goes into that, but it implies some heavy stuff, right? Powerful themes. What could it be that resonates so strongly?
Right. Unlocking those secrets. Is it the family struggling to cope? Or is it more about, the day-to-day of living with a disability? Or maybe it's just that universal message of hope.
Could be anything. That's the fun of this, right? We're left wanting more. Got to see it now.
Speaking of seeing it, Status is post-production, so it's done filming, just not out yet.
The waiting game. But this is a good time to think about our own lives. I mean, have we encountered these themes ourselves?
You're right. We talk about diversity on screen, but what about in our own heads? What are we bringing to this?
Exactly. Have we met a Kemal, someone who, blew our expectations out of the water, showed us a different way to look at things?
Man, those connections, they make a story hit different.
Ah,
Reminds us. Art. It
yeah,
reflects us back, even when it's from a totally different world.
absolutely. And since we're on the topic of background,
Ooh.
some serious talent behind this one. Dina Jasanti directing, and then the screenplays by Dilisa Tamra and Tupal Tampublan.
Right. And it's always cool to see who's behind it all, the names, the faces, bringing it to life. Speaking of names, Vino G. Bastian and Anga Yunanda, they're playing Jaya and Kemal.
Oh, wow, yeah. They're both fantastic actors.
Yeah.
Adds another layer of, anticipation, right?
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see how they handle the brother dynamic, especially as it changes.
Me too. You can tell a lot about an actor by how they do those subtle things, like those little looks, the tension, all that.
Totally. And that's where those keywords come in again. Buddy, dramedy. It's going to be serious, yeah, but also funny, heartwarming, tough balance. But when it works, man, it's magic.
Right. Like they say, laughter's the best medicine, right? Even when things are rough, finding those moments, the connection, it makes all the difference. Okay, before we wrap up, one more thing. The revenue and budget.
Yeah.
Still TBD on the website.
Oh, that is interesting. It's like this movie exists in a vacuum almost,
Yeah.
No box office pressure, no hype really.
Yeah, it's like we get to come in fresh, judge it on the story, how it makes us feel, all that. No outside noise.
Exactly. Oh, and speaking of appreciating it, we got to give props to those top contributors on the site. They're the ones who put it all together, made sure it's right. So thanks to Saiful War, Oh My Gods, Ramaya Vander, and yes, sir.
Yeah, seriously. We appreciate you guys keeping that film knowledge flowing.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive on My Annoying Brother, what's the takeaway? Why should our listener add this to their watch list, even if, sports dramas aren't usually their thing?
Because, honestly, it's a story about connection at its heart. That messy, complicated, can't live without them family stuff.
Yeah.
It's about resilience, but not just physically, internally too. And I think ultimately it's about challenging ourselves, what we think is possible for ourselves, for others, the whole deal.
Well said. It's like sometimes the stories we least expect, they teach us the most. So to our listener, while you're waiting for My Annoying Brother to come out, think about this. What were those annoying brother moments in your life? The ones that, looking back, made you stronger or, made you see things differently?
Yeah, and like Kemal, how can you take those experiences and use them to challenge how people think, show them a new perspective?
Now, that's something to think about. We haven't even seen it, and this film's got us going already.
It just goes to show sometimes the most interesting journeys, they start with a simple click.
Truth. Thanks for coming along on this one, everyone. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into, well, you'll have to wait and see.
Avaka.